I shit on The Guardian a lot, but one thing I do appreciate about this fucking rag is that their motto is a sick, spiteful joke. The kind of nasty, mean-spirited barrel of fuck you sarcasm that, I'll admit, is usually just the right rocket fuel to send my sides into orbit. However, it's far harder for my Icarus-inspired love handles to slip the surly bonds of Earth and soar majestically into the stratosphere when the flabby butt of the joke is me. And you. You see, The Guardian's motto comes from their venerable former editor, Child Porn Scott. Child Porn Scott ran the paper from 1872 until 1929, and is seen by many as a spiritual founder. His motto for the paper was, "Comment is free, but facts are sacred." Anyone who, like me, is sad and lonely enough to have engaged in The Guardian's comment section will see this sick joke for the nasty bit of sarcasm that it is. The Ground is Britain's most censorious newspaper. They have a febrile aversion to contrary opinion that is rarely found outside doomsday cults and totalitarian communist states. Facts are comprised of an ideologically derived dogma that arrives unencumbered by external reality, the facts of what we say they are, and subjecting The Guardian's facts to patriarchal white supremacist systems like logic and reason is simply a form of misogynistic abuse and is therefore swiftly deleted. Comment is only free if you agree with the author. If you disagree with the author and are well practiced at daintily dancing atop the brittle eggshells that comprise the average SIF contributor's psyche, then you may be able to slip through a mildly worded disagreement, but most of the time you'll just get deleted, regardless of how many upvotes your comment has. Like every censor worth his salt, The Guardian assures us that they delete contrary comments only because they're protecting their users. Because they know that we're too feeble to handle online discussions. The Guardian hide their self-righteous censorship behind a couple of lazy canards, the first being conflation. They'll place internet impoliteness on a continuum with real-life violence, including terrorism and paedophilia. This'll, in their mind, make internet arguments seem more devastating than they actually are. The next trick is to label anything that contravenes the dogma to be derailing. They further justify deletions by using a non-traditional neologistic definition of the word violence, which in Guardian terms means non-violent verbal disagreement. Lastly, they'll bring up silencing, another neologism that has exactly the opposite meaning to what most people understand it to mean. In the Guardian's world, someone has been silenced if their ideological opponents haven't been silenced. So to not silence disagreement means you are silencing those who already agree. It's a mindfuck. I'll be going into all four tactics in much more detail later on in this long fucking video. It's not just comments that disagree with specific things in above-the-line articles that get deleted. You can find your contribution snipped if you stray from the accepted dogma even in a tangential way. There's always been a double standard at The Guardian. They even keep what I call an informal cunt list. There is a list of people you're allowed to call a cunt, and everyone else is to be considered uncuntable under penalty of banning. David Cameron, cuntable. Jeremy Clarkson, cuntable. Nigel Farage, cuntable. Katie Hopkins, cuntable. Oh shit, eminently cuntable. Can't curb the cunting on this cunt. The cunt stamp is possessed, they can't stop cunting. Tony Blair, a rare lefty on the list, but still cuntable. Diane Abbott, uncuntable. Diane Abbott is uncuntable. No matter how much of a cunt she is, no matter how cunty she behaves, no cunt can cunt this cunt lest they themselves get cunted by the cunt mods, who, among their countless displays of cuntiness, have controversially made a condemnable cunt like Diane Abbott uncuntable, confirming that the cunt in charge of the cunt list is unaccountably acting the cunt as only a true cunt could. And in case anyone chooses to misinterpret what I'm saying, every one of those grey-skinned conservative cunts I just mentioned is, indeed, a cunt. Cameron and Clarkson et al. Are gigantic cunts, and it's important to be able to say so. But they're not the only cunts out there. There are cunts walking around out there right now who have never been called a cunt before. Not even once. That's an online campaign I'd get behind. I'd gladly crowdfund an effort to make sure that every cunt in the world has someone call them a cunt, just so they know they're a cunt. I think it would genuinely make the world a better place. In furtherance of their firmly held anti-free speech ideals, The Guardian have launched an entire anti-free speech campaign called The Web We Want. As if this drive for censorship from the establishment wasn't sinister enough, The Guardian have been boosted by their government pals in the grim form of Conservative MP Maria Miller, who has also joined in the call for ending the rights of poor people to be able to share their opinions online. Wikipedia informs me that Maria Miller was a former oil industry lobbyist, was 90 grand deep into the MP's expenses scandal, and that she was either absent for or voted against every major gay rights vote since becoming an MP. No wonder she wants to put limits on what feelings the great unwashed are allowed to express. Don't you think it's important we be able to call cunts like Maria Miller a cunt? Great company you're keeping, by the way there, Guardian. This is the stand first that launched the campaign. As part of a series on the rising global phenomenon of online harassment, The Guardian commissioned research into the 70 million comments left on its site since 2006, and discovered of the 10 most abused writers, 8 were women and the 2 men were black. So that proves it! The internet hates women and it also hates black people, but not quite as much. We did it, Guardian! Oh, what a glorious day! We did it! Immediately, we have some problems with the data here. The Guardian defined abuse as any comment that had been deleted. This is such a feeble metric for determining abuse. I can't believe this campaign got past the first fucking meeting. As everyone who has posted on The Guardian knows, not all articles are equally moderated. There's things you can get away with saying in certain comment sections that you know you'd never get away with saying under other articles. They even seem like they get close to realising this. We also found that some subjects attracted more abusive or disruptive comments than others. World news, opinion, and environment had more than the average number of abusive or disruptive comments. Conversations about crosswords, cricket, horse racing, and jazz were respectful. Discussions about the Israel-Palestine conflict were not. What this research really proves, in fact, all this fucking research shows, is that The Guardian takes a more censorious approach to political discussions than it does to cricket. There are simply some subjects where The Guardian considers the feelings of the poor, sensitive snowflake who wrote the article to be so fragile that they really need to up the censorship. This accounts for the high level of censored comments on articles about feminism and racism, articles which, incidentally, tend to be the most inflammatory and accusatory, and at times seem purposefully designed to generate clicks by pissing people off. They also make the bold claim that The Guardian's moderators don't block comments simply because they don't agree with them. You lying cunts! Now, I'm not even sure I believe them that this is their intention, but this is certainly not the fucking reality. The mods are unaccountable, their actions are not logged, the deleted comments can't be appealed or even retrieved. How can anyone at The Guardian make this claim and expect to be taken seriously? Everyone who has posted on The Guardian can give you a story about a polite, on-topic comment disappearing. Furthermore, presenting this as evidence that there is a larger problem of sexism and racism on the internet is an act of casuistry so transparent they must genuinely believe we're all fucking retarded. The Guardian's evidence flies in the face of previous research on this subject. For example, the largest analysis of online abuse ever undertaken was a 2014 study by Pew, widely recognised as the global gold standard of research. The Pew data, which was gathered objectively and with controls in place, revealed that men received marginally more abuse online than women, with 44% of men receiving abuse compared to only 37% of women. The reason The Guardian's results differ so significantly is because of the highly biased sample set, which was almost specifically designed to affirm the conclusion they had already reached before the research began, that the internet is a dangerous place for women, and therefore we need to curtail freedom of speech for everyone. As I said earlier, The Guardian's research didn't control for how contentious the articles were. You're gonna get far fewer abusive, fiery or passionate comments on an article about finding water on Mars than you will on yet another article by Jessica Valenti saying that women are wonderful and men are all hateful, rapey barbarians. You see, The Guardian lets white men write about the important subjects. You know, the economy, a new scientific advancement, the environment, politics. Whatever you want, white man, take your pick. Because the editors of the Growniad see you as an individual with unique thoughts and opinions. If you happen to be black, then the bosses at Guardian Towers see you as nothing more than a mere gestalt entity containing the collective consciousness and the bitter historical scars of those who share your epidermal shade. If you're a black writer who is journalistically interested in beating a few collectivized guilt pennies out of self-loathing white racial masochists, then welcome the fuck aboard. We have plenty of work for you. However, if you're a black journalist who is mostly interested in French politics, modern art, astrophysics, or the philosophy of Adam Smith, then you can get to the back of the fucking queue behind these private school white kids. Unless you want to say that astrophysics is an extension of white supremacy, in which case we care about your opinion.
Imagine going to work every day and as you're walking into the office, you have 100 people. You're walking through this gauntlet of 100 people being like, you're stupid, you're terrible, you suck. I can't believe you get paid for this. It's a terrible way to go to work.
Imagine being one of the most privileged people who have ever lived, who has more opportunity for self-actualization than 99.9% of all the humans that are alive now who have come before you. And now imagine going to work every day and using your generous platform to shit on 50% of humanity and laughably attempt to present your first world inconveniences as a crushing apparatus of oppression. Imagine being that self-involved. Jessica Valenti just doesn't understand that her words and actions have consequences. She's so incomprehensibly entitled, she thinks she should be able to make loud public statements about men being evil brutes, every one a potential rapist and abuser, and that no one should be permitted to respond with anything but ongoing affirmative agreement. She thinks she should be able to parade around in a t-shirt that proudly mocks the mental health crisis affecting young men in a country where the leading cause of death for men under the age of 50 is suicide, and that if anyone subsequently tells her she's terrible, then she's the victim. Now, I don't think that any subject should be off the table for jokes. Make them as bad taste as you like. Laugh about young men killing themselves and try to make it funny. Take it as a challenge. But if you make those jokes in public, then don't act all shocked and appalled when people respond to them by saying you suck, calling you stupid, terrible, or a suppurating pus-filled cunt blister. Valenti's analogy is fucking shit as well. Walking through a physical gauntlet of people in real life saying those things would carry with it an implicit threat of physical violence. Jessica Valenti can press a fucking button and block those comments. She can make her Twitter and Facebook private, turn off her fucking phone. Yes, there would still be people mocking her online even if she looks away. It's not very nice when people talk about you behind your back. But you're not a fucking schoolgirl anymore, Valenti. You can't force people to agree with you or to silently put up with your shit. You're just gonna have to grow the fuck up. Valenti likely doesn't want to make her Twitter feed private because she uses the platform primarily to virtue signal, and by making it private that would rather defeat the object of her using it. If only there was some way for you to make aggressive public statements and only receive responses telling you what a brave and righteous person you are. Alas, when you go fishing for compliments, sometimes you catch a 12-pound rainbow trout. Other times, all you hook is a burlap sack full of kitten skeletons.
I'm most affected by abuse and comments and feedback because it does abuse. And even if I want to tell myself that somebody calling me a nigger or a faggot doesn't mean anything and it's just about them, I'm still aware that it has a toll on me. It has an emotional effect on me. It has a psychic toll on me. It has a physical toll on me. And over time, it starts to build up and I can feel physical tension. And, I know that it has an effect to be broadsided with racist attacks.
On The Guardian? You read a comment on The Guardian calling you a nigger or a faggot. Bullshit. Flat out bullshit. Any such comment would be immediately deleted and the culprit immediately banned. If anyone doesn't believe me, go ahead and fucking try it. Sign up to The Guardian, leave a comment anywhere calling the author a nigger or a faggot. See how long the comment and your account lasts. I imagine they probably have an auto-alert system for both those words. Even in articles about the word nigger, no comments are allowed which contain the word. Comment sections on traditional English meatballs and artisanal stick bundling are similarly censored. Besides which, I don't think I've seen anyone rightfully arguing for their freedom to call a writer a faggot or a nigger. At least I haven't heard anyone saying this. Same for threats. It is beyond a truism to say that threats of violence should be blocked online, and anyone sending them should be banned. No one is arguing for the opposite, it's simply a banal statement to make. Are you also against killing babies and kicking puppies? What a brave and unique stance to take. Which brings us nicely to The Guardian's first bullshit justification for censoring comments. Conflation. In order to make disagreement and unvarnished honesty verboten, the first tactic of Mephistophelian deceit the Guardian employs is conflation. The Guardian is deliberately conflating several terms under the banner online abuse and is placing real-world violence on a continuum with online disagreement. One of the articles published as part of the Guardian's anti-free speech campaign was this one, which mentions Adam Johnson, a football-playing piece of shit who sleazed his way onto an underage girl and who has been rightly imprisoned for it. It's true to say that one of the methods of communication he used to groom the girl was the internet. If this sordid molestation had happened 10 years ago, the Guardian would no doubt be whipping up a moral panic over the dangers of texting. 20 years ago, the dangers of kids having phones in their bedrooms. What Adam Johnson did was terrible, but it has nothing to do with mean comments on the internet. The only purpose in bringing him up is to slyly imply that anyone who thinks free speech is a value worth fighting for is no better than a paedophile. What do you mean you want the internet to be an open marketplace of ideas? Didn't you just hear me bring up Adam Johnson? You a fucking pedo as well, are you? While this article brings up Jada Pose, another fucking horrible story, slightly misrepresented here. A photo of an unconscious young woman went viral, with other Twitter users responding by recreating her pose. It later came out that this young woman had been sexually abused while she was unconscious at a party. It's doubtful that any of the people imitating the pose knew the girl had been assaulted. Had they known that, then it wouldn't have gone viral. Many stories of online bullying are actually just stories of real-life bullying. The people bullying these poor victims online are the kids in their class, the bullies from the bus stop. This is real-world bullying extending into the online realm, not being generated by the online realm. Again, this tragic tale has nothing whatsoever to do with mean-spirited comments on The Guardian. What's more, it's pretty sinister and shitty to conscript this poor girl into your battle against the great unwashed acting unvaliant on the internet. Pretty fucking shameful behaviour, Guardian. If only it wasn't so predictable. Derailing. The Guardian fucking loves derailing. Now, what you probably understand as derailing is something like, I don't know, commenting under an article about a new type of Roman cheese that has been unearthed beneath a village green in Shropshire, and saying, oh, well, you can say goodbye to village greens if we let any more fucking Muslims in. Sharia law permits the beheading of all non-halal dairy products. Off-topic, agenda-driven comments that add nothing to the conversation and only serve to reveal the hang-ups of the commenter. What The Guardian means by derailing is that they have a narrative. The conversation will stay on that narrative, and anything that contradicts that narrative is derailing the narrative and must be removed. So if The Guardian are pushing the narrative that 1 in 3, 4, 5 women will be raped on American college campuses, and a commenter responds with a specific critique of the original study, offers evidence that suggests the number is closer to 1 in 50, which is still shockingly fucking high, and maybe provides a link to an article by, let's say, Dr. Christina Hoff Summers, where she goes into detail about the hard numbers behind the moral panic over campus sexual assault. That would be derailing by The Guardian's definition. This is often what leads to Guardian commenters getting confused and angry, because they're working from a different definition of derailing. One definition is designed to encourage more delving, penetrating examination of a particular subject by not letting the discussion get sidetracked. This is, admittedly, a tricky task. I mean, the best way I've seen it done in the past is by having a mod split the thread so the digressions can carry on elsewhere or fizzle out as needs be. However, The Guardian's definition of derailing is designed to do the exact opposite. It's designed to shut down avenues of investigation. It's designed to protect the sanctity of the accepted dogma by disallowing criticism. This is why it's so hard to drive a stake through the heart of the zombie statistics that The Guardian loves to abuse. When you get to the point that reasonable and necessary criticism of wonky statistics is classified as an attempt to derail a conversation, then you know you're dealing with a bunch of fucking zealots. Violence is an important concept in the discussion around free speech, as many of us recognise it as the only limit to free speech. You know, we have Mill's harm principle, and your right to swing your fist ends when it comes into contact with my nose. Even the most fundamentalist free speech warrior agrees that it's permissible to limit speech that, for example, explicitly encourages people to stab Jews or that contains a believable threat of violence. This is because we're working from the standard, ubiquitously understood definition of violence. Behaviour involving physical force intended to hurt, damage or kill someone or something. But The Guardian's definition of violence is nothing more than mean words. Hurt feelings are as serious as broken bones to the sheltered private school kids at The Guardian. The same article that attempted to conflate Jada Pose with below-the-line disagreements on SIF refers to basically all partisan, competitive or aggressive online interactions as violence. This blog post even mentions being a survivor of online violence, you know, as opposed to that mounting pile of bodies that didn't survive being called a stupid jerkface by a Twitter egg. We use the word violence to distinguish between verbal and physical confrontations. If you have to resort to violence, then you've already lost. The Guardian think they can win by simply labelling non-violent disagreement as violence. So to the Guardian, non-violence is violence. War is peace, freedom is slavery. Silencing is another favourite bit of newspeak from SJWs and Guardianistas. It's wrong to silence an opponent, right? Everyone agreed on that? Of course you fucking are, because you want to get to the truth, and the best way to do that is to hear all sides of a debate. What's more, you believe in free speech. If all mankind minus one were of one opinion and only one person were of the contrary opinion, mankind would be no more justified in silencing that one person than he, if he had the power, would be justified in silencing mankind. Most people would agree that silencing involves an external force denying someone the ability to speak or preventing an idea from being heard. This isn't what the Guardian means by silencing. For the Guardian, a woman is silenced, and it is only women who can be silenced online. A woman is silenced when someone says something mean to her and she feels annoyed, upset or embarrassed and she doesn't feel like speaking anymore. The argument goes that women are so fragile that they often become afraid to speak out because anonymous strangers thousands of miles away might not take them as seriously as they take themselves. I honestly just never meet women in real life who are as weak-willed and pathetic as the Guardian's avatar of womanhood is. Maybe I just move in different circles. To combat this hypersensitivity, it's important that everyone else's freedom to debate, discuss and argue is severely limited, so we don't scare away the timid, fragile women. So in the Guardian's world, silencing occurs when an ideological opponent hasn't been prevented from expressing a contradictory opinion. If you don't silence dissent, you are in fact silencing those who agree but are easily intimidated by disagreement. Not silencing is silencing. War is peace, freedom is slavery. First off, congratulations to anyone who has stayed until the end of this video. As usual, it went on far fucking longer than I had anticipated, and I'm sorry about that. But as a final thought, here's how I think the Guardian should improve its comment section. We're living in an age when the main enemy of free thought is no longer the government, it's corporations. Facebook, Twitter, Reddit and the like have become the world's main platforms for thoughts, ideas, opinions and debate. None of these platforms approve of free speech. We have Facebook censoring the opinions of German citizens in regard to Merkel's migrant policy. Twitter have started shadow banning conservative voices, and the largest default subs on Reddit seem to take it as a righteous duty to shape conversations about current events rather than merely provide an objective, unbiased platform for these conversations. It's more important than ever to fight for free speech online. If you're going to call your platform Comment is Free, and you truly want to honour the life's work of child porn Scott, then I suggest that the Guardian makes an explicit commitment to freedom of speech. They could even institute an opt-in two-tier comment system, where comments that are considered rude or impolite get shunted down to the second tier and can only be viewed by people who are members and have selected the option to see all opinions posted on The Guardian. This would leave the top tier of comments available as an echo chamber for the hypersensitive crybabies both above and below the line who find disagreement terrifying. That way, if someone feels like she's been silenced, she can just stay in the echo chamber. If a comment is thought to be derailing, then let people explore whatever ideas they want on the second tier. The Guardian could even issue body armour and bulletproof helmets so that readers can brave the ultra-violence of the second tier without ending up in hospital. I have a feeling that the sensitive snowflakes will quickly realise that they don't enjoy the anodyne, inoffensive, sanitised version of the internet, and will eventually learn to just deal with it when someone says something they disagree with or doesn't show them the mighty respect they feel they are due. The Guardian could even make it a marketing policy. God knows they need the fucking money. You may get your thoughts deleted on Facebook. You may find that right-wing voices no longer appear on your Twitter feed, or that Reddit defaults delete controversial thoughts that make it to the front page. But at The Guardian, comment is always free.